welcome everyone to the Careers Speed Dating today. So this is part of our Human and Natural Sciences Careers Festival, which is actually the first time we've run this. So we're hoping that this will then turn into something that we can do as an annual event. What we wanted to do, so myself, I'm one of the careers consultants for the Careers and Enterprise team here at the university, and Sarah, I'll let you introduce yourself in a second, but what we are doing is working together jointly on this event to bring the academics team together with the Careers and Enterprise team, but ultimately to be able to provide a lot of opportunity for our students to be able to understand about a range of different careers. What myself and Sarah thought it was really important to do was to let students know that there are different options available, which is why we've invited a number of you today that don't always represent the traditional careers maybe that our students from human and natural sciences would go into. So we were hoping that you will give us a bit of a presentation. You know, it doesn't have to be anything formal, but you know, maybe around 7 minutes or so, talking about your industry, giving the students a real update as to what you can offer, and that will be able to give them the consideration as to whether that's something they might want to then move into in the future. So excuse me, so Sarah, I'll just hand over to you to explain and introduce yourself, and then we can move through the guests.
Thank you so much, Paula. So I'm Dr. Sarah Namvar. I'm one of the lecturers here at the University of Salford. I teach biomedical sciences. I'm also the deputy programme lead and the lead for student engagement in biomedicine. I'm also a research active academic, and that forms a big part of who I am and what I do. I'm really delighted to be working very closely with Paula and the rest of her team to help build employability here at the university.
Fab, thank you, Sarah. So obviously we've got Hannah was invited, so I'm not sure where she is, so I will just chase up with her while the other presentations are going through. But if we start with Bryony, is that okay, Sarah, if I just hand over to you to introduce Bryony?
Yes, thanks, Paula. So Bryony, Dr. Bryony Labram is actually a good friend of mine. We did spend an awful lot of time together back at the University of Manchester. I don't want to say too much, because that may spoil some of the nice, interesting information that she's going to share with you. I'll just get her slides ready for you. Bryony, do you want to pop your camera and microphone on, please?
Yeah. Oh, can you hear and see me now?
I can indeed. I've often done some, you know, I would say slightly different things that you wouldn't ordinarily think of if, you know, after you've done a science degree, and that, so thank you so much for joining us today to share your story, Bryony.
Yeah, not at all. So yeah, hello everyone, and so I'm just going to tell you a bit about my education pathway, and then tell you about the jobs I've had after my PhD. Yeah, so I did an undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences at Warwick University, and at the end of my first year I really enjoyed lab work, so I decided to apply for a year in industry. So completed a year in industry at the HPA, which is in Portendown, which is now part of Public Health England, and there I researched Rhoda pertussis, which causes whooping cough, and looked at the immune response that the vaccine to whooping cough gives. So the overall project aim was that the research group were working on was to sort of improve the vaccine. So I really enjoyed that experience of working in the lab. So that led me to doing my PhD at University of Manchester, and you may recognise Sarah in one of those pictures there. So I then started the PhD in cell matrix biology in regenerative medicine. So the title of my PhD was Defining the Cellular and Molecular Mechanisms Regulating Aspergillus fumigatus Induced Airway Wall Remodeling in Asthma. So many of you probably know about inflammation, which is part of the pathology of asthma, but also you've got this pathology which is restructuring of the airway, which is sort of an area of unmet clinical need in asthma. So I had a really good time during my PhD with Sarah. So I learned a lot of in vitro techniques, and also used a lot of mice in my PhD, and did a lot of in vivo work. And I was also lucky enough go to Germany for a few weeks to learn more about different tools and models which I could use in my research. And this research led to 2 papers being published with Sarah on my research. So at the end of my PhD, I knew I didn't really want to pursue an academic pathway, but I was also not particularly sure what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. So after speaking to a friend who was a recruiter, she suggested maybe working at the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. So this is the department of government which approved the use of medicines in the UK. So you may know them from approving the COVID vaccine. And this was a really interesting experience for me. It was a lot of project management, and I managed a lot of clinical studies for clients, which were often large pharmaceutical companies. But I ultimately felt this job didn't have enough science, so I didn't stay there for a very long time. So then I moved to the NC3Rs, which some of you may have heard of because it's a funder of biomedical sciences research, which tries to reduce the amount of animals used in biomedical research by funding lots of different projects in this area. But what I do within that organisation is I work in the toxicology and regulatory sciences team. So it sort of has a link to my first job at the MHRA, and I still work with MHRA in my current role now. So toxicology is about finding out about the harmful effects that a drug or a chemical may cause humans or the environment. And you need to do all of this in your preclinical drug development, so before it goes into humans, really. So you evaluate the safety of these drug candidates. So obviously this area at the moment uses a lot of animals, and we work with a lot of different companies and try to implement like latest developments in technology. So for example, organ on a chip, or like things like that. And other different techniques into companies, and companies like this, because animal studies are normally very costly and time consuming as well, so they don't have necessarily the same reasons for doing what they're doing, but they ultimately benefit as well. So just give you a quick overview of the NC3Rs, because it might help you in your research or if you do any projects in the future. So it's a small independent scientific organisation established in 2004, and it uses the 3Rs, so it's reduction, replacement and refinement, as a framework to support science, innovation and animal welfare. So I work with a lot of different companies, but the majority of my colleagues work in research funding, so people apply to us to do different projects or have a PhD studentship and things like that. Oops. Okay. So at the moment I work with a lot of different people, experts from academia, industry and regulatory agencies, and ultimately our projects are to improve animal welfare and reduce the number of animals used. And we hold working group meetings, so this is groups of experts who meet regularly to discuss 3Rs issues, and they help guide our work and ensure recommendations we make are realistic. So I spend a lot of time analysing data and trying to get papers published as well, outlining best practice or better practice. Before COVID, I used to travel a lot, both to working group meetings or workshops and conferences to present my research or research that we've done in collaboration with different companies. So my job now is more of a balance between project management and learning about interesting science, and still, even though I'm not in the lab anymore, I still feel involved in the sort of scientific community. So I've just written here that maybe, even though I'm not a toxicologist myself, I've realised that there are a lot of opportunities in this field, especially for people graduating from their undergraduate degrees. And CROs, these are contract research organisations that carry out all these preclinical tests on behalf of big pharmaceutical companies and other companies, need people to manage these studies, so from a project management perspective, but also to sort of carry out these studies as well. and there's a lot of information on the British Toxicology Society, and I've taken a lot of courses with them as well, and they're a very active society. If you're thinking about doing a PhD after your degree, the NC3Rs funds a lot of different PhDs, as well as in toxicology, as well as the MRC Toxicology Lab, which is based in Cambridge. But even if you don't want to use animals in your research, there's so many companies now which are using different technologies and developing these for other companies to use. So that's a really interesting area to get in. There's a few companies that are doing, I've listed there, doing it. So both of my jobs that I've had since PhD have been within the civil service, and that's something that was, recommended to me as a friend, and it has been a good experience so far, and there's a lot of different training opportunities within the civil service that I've taken advantage of. But also, just a final note to say, LinkedIn and Twitter is often quite useful for finding different opportunities and getting involved in things that you maybe haven't thought about before. So yeah, happy to take any questions at any point.
Thank you so much, Bryony. That was really informative, and I love the fact that you shared some really good photos from the good old days.
Good old days, yeah.
So you've kind of, you spoke about PhDs, you spoke about some of the different career options, signposts to lots of different organisations.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of somebody moving out of kind of, as you said, lab-based research.
Yes.
So that kind of whole plethora of careers that sits there that people don't tend to think about, outside the lab. Do you think that you need a PhD?
I think not on my day-to-day job, because quite a lot of it is quite a lot of management and things. But what the PhD does come in useful is, I think, because you've been scientifically trained, you've got a good understanding of a lot of different technologies and techniques and how these can be used and where the scientific field is within using these techniques. So maybe not for like quite a lot of the day-to-day, but then you have you've built a really good you've developed as a researcher, so you have an appreciation of how different things can be used within the research field, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a PhD or masters, we were talking about MPhils and MScs on YouTube just before this session.
Yeah.
What that does is it plugs a gap, because a lot of employers want that experience that you're supposed to magic out of nowhere. But
exactly.
The postgraduate training, be it an MSc or an MPhil or PhD, I think it really does give you that kind of hands-on training, a lot of problem solving and all sorts of different things.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been really interested in actually people carrying out MReses as well, because I think they give you a really large lab component, which I think is sometimes it can be. I mean, I was quite lucky to get that year in industry experience, so it meant I sort of didn't have to do that master's, because quite a lot of the PhDs then would say a master's or a year in industry, so I sort of managed to get over that. But from my understanding of masters, there's quite a lot of different range, and some of them have quite short lab projects, but I think the MReses have quite a large lab component, which I think can be really useful.
So next up, we've got Lisa, who works in scientific sales. Again, I think a lot of undergraduates don't realise all the work that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of engagement and involvement of outside companies that supply the products that we need to keep the university up and running. I'll hand over to Lisa, who can tell you an awful lot about the sector. So thank you, Lisa.
No problem. So hello everybody. So to give you a bit of there we go. To give you a bit of background about SLS, they're a company we are a company that started and began trading in 1991. So we've been around for a long time. We're the UK's largest independent supplier of laboratory equipment, consumables, chemicals, solvents, anything and everything for a laboratory. So you can come to somebody like myself, and I can come and do a supply and fit out a whole laboratory. So I've been with the company for about 4 years. We deal with a number of different brands. as you can see from this slide here. So the way it works is if I came to see Sarah and she asked me for example, an Eppendorf pipette, I would then we have price lists and descriptions all within our system that we have access to. But if it was something that was a bit out of the ordinary, we have close contact with suppliers, and we can bring suppliers into meetings along with myself to meet with Sarah to get more information. We work very closely with all the suppliers listed here and more. There's over 50,000 products in the range, so it's quite can be quite challenging sometimes, but it's always a very exciting role and really enjoyable. Challenging at times, very busy. So my route to becoming a scientific salesperson, I did chemistry at Manchester Met, finished a long time ago. But my first role after university, I got a job in industry working in a lab, which was a 3-month temp contract doing general analytical testing, gas chromatography, spectrophotometry, in a sort of quality control environment in Trafford Park, which was extended to 6 months. But it was always going to be a temporary role because the lady I was covering was on maternity. Then I managed to get myself a position at a large pharmaceutical company in Holmes Chapel. At the time it was called Aventus, now called Sanofi Aventus, working in the QC lab, testing asthma inhalers, various analytical techniques, Carl Fisher, making up buffer solutions, HPLC, GC, spectrophotometry, all sorts of analytical wet chemistry techniques. That was a 12-month contract, which excuse me, which was extended. Well, actually, I got a permanent position there. I spent 4 years at that company. Then I moved on. Excuse me, I moved on to a senior scientist role at a biotech company, Ipsen Biopharm in Wrexham. And it was a bit of a 50-50, shall I take it? Because I wasn't really willing to relocate at the time, and it was a 108-mile round trip. But I went for it, and the journey was just a bit too much. So then I did that role for 6 months or so, and then moved into sales. So I spent about 7 years in the labs, but decided after that 7 years I wanted something more for me. I think my personality suited more with this role now. I've got the experience with it. I moved into, and apologies because I know somebody's presenting from recruitment, but I moved into a scientific recruitment role for about 2 years, but to be honest, it was an industry not for me. It was quite challenging. I'm sure it's not the same for all recruitment companies, but we were targeted in a sales role. You're targeted, and in this role it was targeted for everything. It just wasn't for me. Then from there I went into a completely, it was still scientific but completely new. It was selling weathering test chambers, and I spent 4 years in that role. It was more of an inside sales role, looking after the UK and Ireland, supplying Xenon Arc test chambers and QUVs, which basically are an accelerated weathering test devices. So they you can put like coatings and plastics in there to see how they would cope in outside sunlight, or behind window glass. You can put different filters in to simulate behind window glass, or outside to simulate sunlight. Yeah, so I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I was looking after the UK and Ireland for about 5 years, selling analytical service contracts for HPLC, GC, spectrophotometers, microplate readers. That was quite a challenging role, because you're looking after, again, with like SLS, any laboratory that has this type of equipment to go for. And now 4 years with SLS, really enjoy my role. I look after Central Manchester, North Manchester, Lancashire and Cumbria as my territory. As it says there, NHS labs, university labs, biotech labs, pharmaceutical, breweries, contract tests, anywhere that's got a lab, environmental test labs, anywhere that's got a laboratory is my target customer. Okay, then possible other routes you could take to becoming a territory sales manager. You can come from experience working within a laboratory-based role, or when you finish, you can go into an inside technical salesperson's role to get the experience in the sales side. There is possibilities of a graduate salesperson role to come out straight from university. On talking to Sarah, I did ask our HR department about any possible opportunities which SLS might be able to offer. And talking to the HR manager, it's something that I know that they want to do. But obviously, given the COVID restrictions at the minute, I think what he was saying was we have a head office in Nottingham. We also have an office in Glasgow, and there is also Analab, which is part of SLS in Ireland, and they'd want somebody who is close to the office who could have that one-to-one support and mentoring when they need it. It'd be difficult to give somebody that he's saying like a job in Salford, because it'd be working with myself or with somebody from the northern team, and it'd be quite tricky to have that one-to-one support. But if and when restrictions lift, as you can see from here, we're able to open the offices up more, then it's something that they would definitely consider in the longer term. Yeah, okay, a placement or a graduate could work alongside our telesales team, because we have a TAM team at the office. So we are field-based in the northern team, and there's also a TAM team, which is telephone inside salespeople. So that's another opportunity. Like I said, the top one, inside salesperson role, you can get experience doing it that way before you go out in the field. Sort of skills and qualities required for the role, which I do. This background, sort of university scientific qualification, it's definitely needed for great time management. It can be quite challenging sometimes. Organised, self-discipline. You need to be able to work independently from home and in the field, but also you need to be able to work well as part of a sales team, because we're always sharing ideas and experiences to help each other out. You need to have confidence in your product, and obviously given the wide range of products that we supply, it can be quite tricky sometimes, so you can't always give an answer straight away, so you need to know where to go to get the requested information for your customer. A confident personality, able to stand and speak in front of customers and occasionally presenting to small and larger audiences. And then also you do get a sales target, so you need to be able to achieve the targets that are set, be able to monitor your sales targets and come up with ideas to boost sales if needed. We have a company CRM, which is a customer relationship management system, which obviously where you add the notes in or any quote requests that you get, so you can track and you can keep a check on where you're up to, and it's basically a database system, management of information. Asking the right questions in a meeting with a customer, maintain relationships with both customers and suppliers. Be able to navigate around and use social media such as LinkedIn and other social medias to gain new leads for prospective new contacts for sales. In my sales experience, I mean, with SLS, we're a UK-based company, head office is in Nottingham, so I've not really had, I mean, we do a lot of travel, we do a lot of meetings, sales meetings, we get together in Scotland, we get together in Nottingham. But in previous roles, with the weathering test company I mentioned, their head office was in America. So I went to Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. Another company, I went to Switzerland, Netherlands, Germany. So there's a lot of opportunity for outside travel to the UK, outside of the UK and into Europe, with many sales roles. Any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm sorry if I bumbled through it. Feel free to ask me anything you want to ask me, and if I can't answer today, I will get back to Sarah and she'll let you know.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's interesting that you touched upon the travel component of the job. I know Bryony mentioned that earlier, and I think it's a really interesting part of lots of scientific type roles is that because we do work within a community that runs across the whole world, essentially, you can end up, you know, if you enjoy traveling, it can be a major part of your life, and you can end up staying in some really nice hotels and meeting some really interesting people across the globe.
It was SLS as well, with a UK-based company. We do go, as I say, to Nottingham, obviously pre-COVID. There is a sales meeting planned for September, but pre-COVID we meet in Nottingham a couple of times a year. And then later on in the year, it's about October, November, we go up to Scotland and for sales meetings. So we all get together. So there's UK travel, but in previous roles, there's lots of overseas travel as well that I've done.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, actually, just listening obviously to Lisa then, is just for students to think about the fact that what you did highlight there was you travel, and that actually you took a job that was, maybe it wasn't on your doorstep, it involved quite a significant period of travel, and that sometimes you just have to be quite open to those opportunities, and things, you know, things come up, but you need to be able to think about, actually, this might be a stepping stone to be able to get me to where I want to be longer term in the future. So don't always, you know, as you are, Josh, you're sort of thinking about other options there, but actually don't close things off just because it's maybe a little bit further than you were expecting to go, because sometimes it can lead you to where you need to be. So yeah, just to let you know that we've got Kate with us, who has come from Teach First. So we did have some slides, but I can't upload them because the file's too big. So she's absolutely fine. She's just going to have a chat to you without them. But Teach First, I mean, she'll give you more information, but basically you can do your training with them and you will get a salaried wage, you get the on-the-job training. So it's, you know, another option to really think about once you've graduated. So I'll hand over to Kate now, and she can just give you a bit more information about their particular offer.
Brilliant.
Hi, Kate.
Hello, thank you so much. It's lovely to see you all on the call as well. Yeah, sorry about the slides, you know, technology, these things just happen. But Teach First, ultimately we train fantastic teachers and leaders to work in our partner schools. We are all about making education fair, because actually at the moment, how well you do in terms of your career, how well you do in terms of how much you earn after school, is very much dependent on how much your parents earn, which is really unfair. And it's actually based on your postcode, which it should actually be based on your potential. So as a charity, we are working to support the schools and the students who need it the most. And one of the main ways in which we do that is by placing fantastic teachers in our partner schools. We partner with schools all across England, from the northeast down to the south coast. So just listening into that, if you are willing to relocate, we have a fantastic community who can support you in relocating to other parts of the country. But equally, we do also have schools fairly nearby, but the more flexible you are, the better, because then we can really match you with a fantastic school based on your academic achievements, your hobbies, your interests, your CV. But teaching is a fantastic job. Some of you on this call, you might have been like, oh, not too sure if it's for me, or, you know, maybe you have started to consider it at some point. Teach First is a massive network, and it can actually be a fantastic stepping stone to help really develop a set of transferable skills that can support your long-term career. We are a 2-year graduate scheme. Applications at the moment aren't yet open. They will reopen again in autumn. The date is still TBC, but from, say, around September time, you'll be able to apply to our graduate scheme to start the following June, which is where we would then start with your training. Now, it is a 2-year graduate scheme. You will receive high quality training over the 2 years. You have an initial training period, but then you're actually working in one of our partner schools. You are employed by the school. You are a teacher. You're paid by the school as well, which is really fantastic. And you're getting that real responsibility and real experience from the very first day. You have your own lessons. you know, you are responsible for planning those lessons and marking those lessons, which might sound a little bit scary, but you have the support structure around you to help you develop with that. So you actually have 3 mentors to support you, one that's based within the school to support you with the day-to-day runnings of the school, you know, what to do to support a child, what happens if the fire alarm goes off, things like that. You are then having a mentor from the university, because actually alongside teaching, in your school, you're actually working towards a postgraduate diploma in education, so a PGDE. That's actually double the credits of a PGCE, and it's 2/3 of the way towards a master's, so you can actually top it up at the end at a reduced cost, so you end up with a master's in education and leadership. And then you have a mentor from Teach First who will support you not only with your teaching skills and kind of observe your lessons, but they will also support you with your well-being. How are you managing the work-life balance? How are you making sure that you've got your social life, that you're kind of keeping on top of it all, and support you with your kind of planning and organizing skills as well. So it does start with some training. Once you're in school, you're in the same school for 2 years. You have contrasting placements throughout. You will attend conference days as well, but all of that is organised for you, and there's nothing else that you have to kind of pay for in terms of the graduate scheme. There's no course fees, there's no nothing. That's all part of the Teach First package, so to speak. But one of the real benefits is the network that you're joining. We are the largest graduate recruiter in the UK. We hire around 16 to 1700 teachers every year that go and work in our schools, so you are definitely not alone in your journey. So as well as your 3 mentors, you also have your peers supporting you, going through the same thing, and those who from the previous year were in your position who can support you. And that network is really key, because you're it is like a big community, and it's a very friendly community, and often people will say how friendly everybody is when they come through the selection process, and then even when they start the program, the friends that they get from the graduate scheme are friends for life. So yeah, it's a really fantastic network that you're joining. But with that, obviously, as a trainee teacher, if there's anything that you want to particularly develop, maybe you're thinking, you know, you want to progress into a pastoral role, maybe you want to become head of department, maybe you want to become a head teacher. Well, you've got people around you who can support you in doing just that as well. So they're there to kind of help guide you, support you with developing, and giving you the skills that you need, and helping you develop them. So yeah, it really is fantastic in that respect. From another angle as well, we actually also work with lots of different partner organisations as well. So we are of the generation where we are quite lucky. We might change careers multiple times in our life. We might, you know, retrain, go into different things, and that's really exciting. Over 60% of our trainee teachers stay working in the classroom, but actually over 30% do then end up leaving the classroom, and they go on to work with some of our partners, or maybe even setting up their own charities and businesses. But we work with partners to really support our mission and our vision, and they really value the skills that you have as a teacher. Now, we as an organisation want to make education fair. That is our whole purpose. We want to support social mobility, but that is a pretty big challenge, and we cannot do that alone. So that's why we have different partners such as PwC, Google, like Amazon. We have like Accenture, Deloitte, Rolls-Royce. We also have other charities and smaller, more local companies that support us as well. And the way that they support us by a lot of different ways. So some do some like school visits, others then support us with mentoring trainees, but others will then offer summer projects. So as a teacher, because you're working in a school, you actually get 13 weeks paid holiday a year, and obviously you have 6 weeks over the summer. And during that time, you can obviously sit back and relax, or you can participate in one of our summer projects. So this gives you a chance to network with our other industries. It gives you a chance to kind of develop a skill set and transfer it outside of the classroom. You get to kind of explore any other careers that you might be interested in as well, but then you get to take your skills back to the classroom for that second year, and you actually have access to these summer projects over the course of your life, because essentially at the end of the 2 years you become an ambassador of Teach First, and you're still part of that community. So if after 5 years you're thinking, do you know what, like, I've enjoyed teaching, I've become head of department, I really want to try something else, you can use the summer projects to develop the skills. You can use those summer projects to kind of try other things, and then you can ask for advice and support from everybody around you as well. And what we are finding now is that we are seeing people who maybe step outside the classroom and then going back into the classroom after 5 years out and actually going into leadership positions, and they're having a very fluid career. It is a very rewarding career. You are working with lots of individuals, and helping them shape their life and like give them a passion and an understanding for their subject, and supporting them in reaching their full potential, like opening doors, sharing just any information about life, of like different careers, things that they might want to study, might want to do, and really supporting them and kind of making a difference. So it is a 2-year graduate program. It is a salaried route, and over the 2 years you have an incredible amount of support to help you reach your potential, as well as obviously helping your students to reach their potential as well. In terms of applying to the programme, you have to complete an application, which is done through our website, not UCAS. And so online, when you open an application, we would support you through the entire process. So you would have a call from us. We would talk you through what makes a great application, what we look for, and give you some hints and tips. Now, you might think that we are looking, as someone who recruits teachers, that we're looking for masses of teaching experience, but we're actually not. We're actually looking for 8 different competencies that we know make a great leader and teacher. So things like planning and organising, communication, resilience, leadership. And so you can use any examples from your life, whether that's part-time jobs, society work, your degree, to kind of demonstrate those competencies at application stage. Should you then be successful at application stage, you'll be invited to a development centre, and again we would support you through that. And so we would take you through every kind of step of the way, and at the moment those development centres are happening virtually, so that's why we do offer that call before, to kind of make sure that you're used to the tech, that you're prepared for that, and we can make sure that you're feeling comfortable. After that, you then find out if you've been successful, and that's where you will find out what you're going to teach and where you're going to teach it in terms of regional. So it might be the Northwest region, it might be the Northeast region. Now, when you apply, you put down your preferences, and we would talk you through them. We would talk you through where you can teach, what each region means geographically, and we will consider any extenuating circumstances or your preferences as well, and then we can support you through that. After that, we will then obviously make sure that you are supported in preparing to start the graduate scheme. So you might have to do references, CVs, things like that, but again you have that one point of contact to support you throughout, and that kind of continues throughout the entire programme as well. But in terms of where you could teach, the more flexible you are, the better, just so we can really make sure that school match is really personal, where you can obviously develop professionally, but also where you can have the greatest impact as well. That is a little bit about our graduate scheme, how to apply. So if you do have any questions, you can just, I think we've got time now, but if not, definitely set a reminder on your phone to kind of have a look on our website, learn a bit more about that, we're obviously on all social media channels, so follow us on like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that, and do a bit of research ready for when our applications open. We do close like as and when regions and subjects are full, so it's best to put in an early application should you want to start next year as well.
Thanks, Kate. I was just going to ask a few of the questions you've just answered there about, are you oversubscribed? Is it something that, generally you get more applicants than you've got spaces?
So yeah, so there's a lot of teachers and there's a lot of jobs going, but it is as and when we fill, we will just then all of a sudden close. So that's based on, head teacher requests, things like that we kind of predict ready for the following year. Generally, those that want to teach primary, early years, maybe like history, geography, tend to fill first, but we will close as and when we're full.
Okay, because most of our students here are going to be STEM students, so you sort of tend to find that there's more opportunities in those areas, or is there no difference really?
No, there are more vacancies. STEM students are definitely in higher demand. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential there, but I would still recommend an early application just because we just don't know. Like if everybody, say we opened on the 1st of September and everybody who applied on the 1st of September wanted to teach maths, then we would close. So it's just really hard for us to predict. So obviously it's just really important to kind of, if this is something that you really want to explore, it is a fantastic graduate scheme where you can develop transferable skills that will support your long-term career. We have had people go on to do research afterwards, to do doctorates in STEM related subjects and go on to, work in engineering firms as well. So it is a great opportunity to develop those skills. So I think the sooner you apply, the better. Then you can focus on your final year. You don't have to worry about applying to graduate schemes. Because I know my final year, I was just, my head was down trying to study.
Thanks, Kate. And just a question about the actual training and support do students get for behaviour management? So if that was a worry of theirs, how would you provide support around that?
Yeah, behaviour management and classroom management is something that everybody is worried about. And I'm going to tell you now that first day in school, it is scary, and there's a bit of a you got to fake it till you make it type of attitude, but the kids don't know that you're a trainee teacher. That's the best thing, and you tell them that you've taught before as well. But Summer Institute, which is where you do all the learning before, is where you can practice in role play. You get a chance to also go into a school to practice that classroom management, how to create a positive classroom environment, and you actually have the mentors, the Teach First mentors that are experienced teachers supporting you in, practicing the different stages, the different strategies that you can implement, and they will, you can talk to them about, okay, I'm a bit worried about not being strict enough, and so you can practice your teacher voice that you very quickly develop, and the strategies that you can then implement in school. But once you do find out your school, every school will have a different behaviour management policy, so then it's really important that you talk to them to find out what they do. So if a school counts down from 5, that's something that you can just easily adapt on your first day. If they have a point system or a house system or anything else, you can just easily adapt that, and you can be kind of really on the ball with that.
Yeah, thank you. And we've just got a question off Josh. He's asking, do you offer all stages of teaching, so primary, secondary and college level?
So we offer early years, primary and secondary, not college level. Some of our schools though do offer an all through kind of curriculum up into 19, so it does offer A levels, and so sometimes if you are a specialist in a science subject and you're it's offered at sixth form, you might be offered the opportunity to teach A level as well, but that's not necessarily as part of the 2-year program. You're more going to be focused on the primary or secondary. But if you are eligible to teach STEM, you would be asked to teach secondary, not primary. if you really want to teach primary, you would have to apply to a PGCE or a schools direct. There is a real need for STEM teachers. Unfortunately, schools are missing out on that, and they, people aren't choosing it past GCSE, and so we really want to kind of support those students in their belief that they can actually go on to university and study a science subject as well.
Great, thank you, Kate. So I don't think there's any other questions unless anybody's got anything, but obviously put it in the chat if needs be, and we can pass that on to Kate later. So thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, thank you.
Thanks, Kate. So I think next up is Amar and Stephanie, who are joining us from Greater Manchester Police. So can I hand over to you two?
Hi everyone, this is Amar from Greater Manchester Police. It's only going to be myself who's going to be doing the presentation this afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't see anybody. Can everybody see me?
yeah, we can see you.
Oh right, okay. No worries. I'm just looking at a blank screen. I'm just getting a bit worried. Right, okay. So my name's Amar. I'm a police officer. Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, my name's Amar. I'm a police officer with the Greater Manchester Police. I've been a police officer now for the last 13.5 years. 10 of those years I did as a response cop, which basically means I dealt with the 999 calls. And for the last 3.5 years, I've been working in the positive action team, where we assist, guide, support applicants from all the different communities to consider a career in policing. Okay, so the main reason why I'm here this afternoon is to encourage everybody to think about a career in policing, especially a police officer, because we're currently recruiting quite a lot of police officers over the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, like I mentioned before, I've been a police officer for the last 13.5 years. 10 of those years were in response. I've really enjoyed my career as a police officer. Every day is different. It's not like any other job. It's not like working in an office. It's not like, it's not like working in an office, working in surgery. With a police officer, I've dealt with incidents, for example, missing people, car accidents, shoplifting, concern for welfare, domestic violence incidents, and so many different types of jobs. You get to see things that the general public don't get to see. So, for example, I've been to mortuaries. I've been to backstage, for example, in concerts. I managed to go backstage, and also other like different places where members of the general public don't see. And the other thing with being a police officer is actually an eye opener. Every day is different. No 2 days are the same. So I mean, a typical day, for example, when you work in the early shift, you start at 7 in the morning and you finish at 4 in the afternoon. Your first job could be a road traffic accident. You deal with that. Next job could be missing person. You deal with that. Next job could be concern for welfare. You deal with that. It could be a murder. So every day is different. That's the beauty of the job. No 2 days are the same, and it is quite exciting and it's quite challenging. So for everybody who's listening, what we look for is people who are ready for a challenge, people who are flexible and adaptable. Like I said, every day is different. People who've got good communication skills, because like I said, most of the time you're out and about and dealing with members of the public, trying to sort the problems out. So you've got to have good communication skills. We're looking for people with high levels of integrity, i.e. the code of ethics. For example, you will look for people who are honest, people who respect everyone, people who are fair, people who are self-motivated. So these are the code of ethics, and this is what we require from all police officers. We're also looking for people who've got empathy and tolerance skills. So for example, empathy, you might go to a domestic situation where for example, there's a male screaming, there's a female screaming saying she's just been assaulted. So obviously, you're going to have to kind of calm the person down. Also, we're looking for people who are tolerant. because sometimes you go into a situation where people are kind of screaming and shouting at you, and the last thing we want is you to, for example, start shouting and screaming back at them. So in terms of the application process, currently all you needed was a GCSE in English to become a police officer, but now it's all changed. The minimum entry requirements are, there's actually 3 routes. So for the people who are listening to the presentation this afternoon, you guys will have degrees, or you'll be studying for degrees. So once you've completed your degree, you can apply to become a detective, or you can apply to become a police officer. You will, however, have to do a 2-year degree holder entry program in order to become a police officer. So what will happen is you'll get your degree, for example, in biology, maths, or whatever subject you're doing, and then once you join GMP, you will have to do a 2-year kind of degree holder entry program. Okay, so with that, you'll do that kind of on a day release, as well as do your day-to-day duties with becoming a police officer. Okay, so in terms of, once you've done your 2 years, and once you've got your degree holder entry program, and once you've been confirmed in rank, you can apply for all the different departments within the police, i.e. CID, traffic, horses, firearms, CTU, domestic violence unit, and cybercrime, and all the different departments. So you can apply for any of them departments, or you can apply for promotion, i.e. become a sergeant. What normally happens is, when you're a PC, we start you off at roughly about £24,500. So you'll get that from day one when you're sat studying for the degree hold entry program, as well as when you're out and about. So you will start you from about £24,500, and within 7 years it goes roughly to about £42,000. But once you've done your 2 years, like I mentioned before, you can apply for promotion, i.e. become a sergeant, which then automatically your salary goes to about 45. So you guys might be thinking, Emma, you've got about 13 and a half years in, why have you not applied for a sergeant? The answer to that was, I enjoyed being a frontline police officer. I enjoyed being a first respondent. My circumstances have changed within the last couple of years. That's why I'm kind of office based, and you know, I'm not actually a response cop. But if anything happened, you know, I would be expected to deal with whatever was happening in front of me. So I couldn't turn around and say, well, I'm not a response cop anymore, I'm not going to deal with it. I would be expected to deal with, for example, if there was a car accident happening in front of me. But my role mainly now is to kind of assist, support, guide candidates throughout the recruitment process of becoming a police officer, or any of the other roles we've got within GMP, i.e. Police officers, specials, PCSOs, but mainly right now we are actively recruiting for police officers. We're going to be recruiting nationally 20,000 cops over the next 2 to 3 years. So that's nationally, that's not within GMP. Okay, so very quickly I'll run through the recruitment process. So for those who are interested, please email us on recruitment.support.gmp.police.uk, and what we will do is we will send you an expression of interest form. Basically is to say you're interested, and we'll register your interest. We'll register your interest. In the next month or so, we will be sending out the application form. So you're looking about end of July, early August. The whole process from application stage to actually being offered the job takes about 4 to 5 months. So the first stage is the application form. So you have to pass that. Then you move on to the second stage, which is the online assessment, where you do a briefing exercise, a written exercise, and an online interview. You pass that stage, you do a final interview, which is face-to-face. You pass that stage, you do a physical stage, where it's roughly about 3.5 minutes on the bleep test. You pass that stage, it's a medical, and then what we do, you pass that stage, and then it's biometric check and references. And like I said, it roughly takes about 4 to 6 months from the application stage right up to the final stage. And once it's successful, then you go on to the 2-year degree holder entry program. As well as that, you'll be getting training. You'll be going out day to day. You'll be supported. It's not a case of you'll join and basically after a week we'll kind of kick you out and say, right, you go and deal with like an RTC, or go and deal with a shoplifter, or go and deal with a missing person. You will get supported for 2 years. But after your 2 years, and once you have been confirmed in rank, then you can apply for all the different departments. Also, what you can do, if you're not interested in becoming a police officer, you can apply to become a detective. That's because you guys will have a degree in any subject, but again, you will have to do the 2 years degree holder entry program to become a detective. So you'll bypass becoming a police officer. There'll still be a bit of element in the training, but you'll go on to become a detective. So in a nutshell, like I mentioned before, if you're interested, please email us on recruitment.support@gmp.police.uk, expressing an interest in becoming a police officer. As and when the application is open, hopefully end of July, early August, we will send you the link. If you're not ready to apply July, August time, you can apply again in a couple of months' time. We are recruiting for the next couple of years. So the other thing what you guys can do, if you haven't thought about becoming a police officer and you're thinking, well, I fancy that, it's different to what I was thinking my career would be, apply to become a special. Basically, special is a bit, it's like work experience. You do like 20 hours a month, you get the uniform, you get the basic training, and you go and shadow a police officer. So you guys might decide, well, I'm not too sure about becoming a police officer. Is it for me? Is it not for me? You can become a special. It's like a volunteer. Like, so you get the basic training, you get the uniform. So when you're out and about, people won't know basically people look at you as a police officer because you'll have the same uniform what I'm wearing, but only your colleagues will kind of know that you're a special. So for anybody who's not unsure about becoming a police officer, I would go down the route of becoming a special. So you can do that currently, or you can do that, for example, if you decide to become a scientist, you might think, well, right, I fancy that. Is it for me? Become a special, and then you can see whether it's for you or not. So, like I said, I've given you a quick whistle-stop tour of obviously what it's like to become a police officer and the process. If anybody wants any more information, please guys send us an email to the email I mentioned before, recruitment.support@gmp.police.uk, and we will answer any questions or any concerns, or what we can do is we can send you out the expression of interest form. Good luck, guys. Thank you very much.
I've got a quick one. Did you say, Amar, that it's a 20-hour per week commitment to be a special?
No, 20 hours a month.
Ah, fantastic.
It's 20, so even you could do it if you wanted.
Yeah. Well, when you said detective, I'm just thinking, maybe I should be thinking about my career planning, and maybe I might be suitable for a detective training program. You never know. But yeah, we always encourage our students to take on volunteering roles, and something like volunteering with the police will be absolutely fantastic on a CV because of the number of skills that you guys have. So
yeah, definitely.
20 hours per month, that's roughly 5 hours a week, is not a huge commitment, and I would certainly be encouraging that, and I'd encourage the audience now to really think about taking that up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Resource in which is a recruitment consultancy agency based in Manchester. So they do specialise in certain areas of work, but they are actually open to supporting students from all areas of industry. And they do have some really great contracts for graduate recruitment roles again, but I'll let Rick explain that to you. So I'll just quickly share your slides, Rick.
Thank you.
So you should just be able to move through them yourself now.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all doing really well. So thanks for the intro, Paula. My name is Rick Purcell. I'm one of the directors at Advantage Resourcing. We're a recruitment staffing company. Our headquarters are based in Sale, just off the Metrolink line. So before we go into kind of the detail, we'll talk first about our parent company. Our parent company are called Recruit Group, a Japanese run firm. With over 70,000 clients based all over the world, with annual sales of just shy of $16 billion. Now, to put that into perspective, the recruitment industry, I don't know how much you guys would know about recruitment or the recruitment industry in general, but the recruitment industry contributes around about £50 billion per year to the UK economy. So it's a very meritocratic industry whereby us as recruiters will work with our clients, for example, Salford University or University of Salford. We will support them and find talent to fill jobs that they've got, and in return, you as a recruiter will get paid commission to do that. So Lisa mentioned it at the beginning, you know, it is a very challenging industry. So before we kind of come on to the details of the role, I would advise you to do your research on the companies, you know, the recruitment companies out there. There are some exceptional recruitment companies and there are some not so exceptional ones as well. So Recruit Group, we employ 30,000 people again across the world. We've been in business for 60 years, and part of our family of companies underneath the Recruit Group banner, we've got Glassdoor, RGF Staffing, which is where we sit, and Indeed.com, all part of our organisation. We're actually working with Indeed.com at the minute to pull together a graduate plan or a graduate scheme for graduates to come in and work with us and then move over to Indeed to experience what it's like working with a software provider. Well, the world's biggest software provider for recruitment or for jobs, basically online. Now, within RGF Staffing, we've got Advantage Resourcing, Advantage XPO, and Chrome Corkill. Now, Advantage Resourcing is where I sit, and we are the cog, really, the biggest cog in the RGF Staffing machine. We fill all of the vacancies that our clients give us, pretty much. And to do that, we need a rather large team of what's called 180 consultants. So within recruitment, you've got what's called 360 recruitment or 180 recruitment. Now, 360 is very, very hard work, but equally very rewarding financially. As I say, it's a very highly meritocratic industry. But to be able to be successful within 360 recruitment, there's an awful lot of cold calling, which isn't for everybody, but some people absolutely love it. I've done both. My preference is 180. 180 is where we work with existing clients. So we've got other people going out winning the business for us, and then we would partner with that client that we've just won and support them in filling their vacancies for them. We've been in business, Advantage Resourcing have been in business for over just 40 years now, actually, nearly. And we specialise in permanent recruitment, temporary, interim contract positions as well. Probably around 90% of our business is contract positions. So the type of roles that we fill range from bricklayers all the way up to C-suite people within, CEOs, COOs, managing directors, and everything in between across almost all industries. Within our group, within RGF Staffing in the UK, we turn over upwards of 330 million, and we've got on our books circa 4,500 contractors across all our divisions. So we've got a very large contractor book, which enables us to operate the way we do, very cash-rich business with over 140, slightly more than that now, but over 140 employees. So just to give you an idea of some of the industries that we work in, you'll get recruitment companies which specialise in one particular skill set, or you'll get them which specialise in one particular industry. We we're more general. We focus on pretty much everything, and we have specialist consultants who work within those industries. So that enables us to have a really interesting portfolio of clients there. So within the financial sector, a very big client of ours is Nationwide Building Society, Credit Suisse. We've literally just won a new client called Handelsbanken, which requires consultants to be based in the UK and over Europe as well. Insurance companies, HSBC is a big one. Bupa is another big one for us. Media and comms, really interesting one. This one, Sky and the BBC. Sky probably was one of the more interesting ones for me. I randomly got given a job to fill by Sky, and it turned out to be Davina McCall's chauffeur. So you do get a really different array of requirements to fill. Within retail, Dyson, Ladbrokes, Jimmy Choo, Swarovski. Education sector, we've just won our biggest client so far, which is UCL. So we're supporting UCL across all of their functions, from library services all the way through to teaching, and again everything in between. We're supporting at the minute one of the roles that they've got, a really interesting role. They've got an FPGA engineer. Basically, these guys design the microchips that go into rockets that they send up into space. So we're responsible for finding the people who can do that and supplying them into UCL. So really interesting projects going on there. Again, some other interesting ones in the public sector. We work a lot with the NHS, fantastic client to work with. The Home Office, we work with various divisions within the Ministry of Defence as well. We obviously can't go into detail of what those are and the types of roles, but some excellent clients within the public sector. Automotive, McLaren, Red Bull, BAE Systems in aerospace and defence, Kinetic, EasyJet, Bombardier. Massive part of our business is aerospace and defence. Technology, manufacturing, construction. So as I say, anything from bricklayers all the way up to C-suite. So it's a fantastic client base that we've got, and it's continuing to grow as well. Albeit we're in a pandemic, we've continued to grow through a pandemic and bring in new people to the business and onboard remotely. So just a little bit about our brands. So Advantage Resourcing, as I said, accounting, finance, IT, engineering, construction, professional services. So all your HR, legal type roles, industry and infrastructure, which is essentially blue collar. Advantage XPO, we work very closely with. So these will own the relationship with the client. A lot of the time, the client will outsource their recruitment responsibilities to XPO, and they will manage them, and we will in turn fill those requirements into XPO, who then put them into their end client. Crone Corkill is our business support brand. They're based in London. They've got a very big presence in London, based in the West End, and Soho as well. so an excellent brand there. Some really good clients. They've been in business with over 40 years in business, very well known within the industry. And Availer Temp is one of our new ones. So because we've got the software platform, Indeed and Glassdoor, we've got very heavy software presence within our group. That enabled us to create a new recruitment software called Availer Temp. So this is basically on demand, where a client will go in and select different people who they want to work with them. So you as a candidate will register yourself with Availer Temp. On the other side, the client will see that you've registered and select you for that particular job, and you'll go in the following day and do a shift. So that's very much of a temporary type recruitment model, but it's on demand, and we've developed this ourselves, so it's working really well so far. So within all of these industries, you could be looking at anything like CAD engineers if you're into engineering, production, warehouse, forklift truck drivers, highways, building highways, railways. HS2 is a client of ours. Software development, IT infrastructure, service management. We see a lot of graduates coming into recruitment, working with our clients on this, and then deciding, in fact, that they actually want to go and retrain and work directly with our clients, which you do see happen quite a lot. Professional services, as I said, within HR, legal, supply chain, procurement, and business support, again with technical sales, and sales engineers, and those people going out, doing the cold calling as well for our clients, for software sales, for example. So again, lots and lots of different types of roles and areas that we do. Now, we do a lot with our clients, but we also do a lot within the community as well, and we have a lot of opportunities for charity work. We're currently working with Mind charity at the minute. We're doing an awful lot of work with them, which from a recruiter's point of view, you're able to to go away, do some really good charity work to raise money for our partner charities. That often changes each year, but we're massive into diversity and inclusion. We do a lot of networking events with our clients on diversity and inclusion. So it's not just about making money. I think people think that recruitment is just an industry whereby you just go and make a load of money and then you leave. It's not about that. I've been in the industry for 15 years, and within that I've worked for just 3 organizations in that 15 years, and some of the things that's allowed me to do. We've worked over in Uganda building schools, for example, as part of the corporate social responsibility, and we've been over to Morocco in the Atlas Mountains, working with various villages there, building, helping to support funding and actually getting your hands dirty building, some schools in the Atlas Mountains. So it's a fantastic industry to work in, but it is equally very, very challenging, like Lisa did say. We've got vacancies open now, where the recruitment industry is a big employer for graduates. We've actually recently taken on a graduate from the University of Salford. He started with us on Monday, and he's again supporting at the minute roles across UCL, and I believe I think it's the NHS he's got roles with at the minute. So he's in line, he's submitting CVs, speaking to candidates, negotiating rates with them, and getting CVs over to the client. So hopefully he's going to be in line to do his first deal within his first couple of weeks. I think he's taken to it really well. So upon joining Advantage Resourcing, you will be given a career development plan, and you will know exactly what you need to do from day one to get promoted, and what that promotion means to you financially. So you will come in on a starting salary of 20,000. However, as I said, this is a commission-based role. The earnings are limitless. Whatever you put into recruitment, you will get out financially. That's just a fact. That's the way it works. So as a trainee, certainly within your first year, you will be looking to earn upwards of 30 to 32,000. Within your second year, you're kind of going upwards there of 40k. But their average billings, or average earnings, excuse me, of a new starter. Obviously, it all depends on job flow. It depends, that there are outside factors which recruiters can't control, such as a global pandemic. But because we cover such a vast array of clients and industries, we're a very, very safe company to work with. Where we see a drop off in various business support roles during a pandemic, we saw a huge spike in roles that sat within IT and data, within the NHS, for example. So we're a very, very safe company to work with. So as I say, you'll join on that starting salary of 20k. Now, the actual interview process is very, very straightforward. You can drop your CV to me at rick.purcell@advantageresourcing.co.uk. We will have a chat on the phone. We'll just go through what you want to do with your career and just get to know each other a little bit. You'll then have a more formal interview with one of the managers that works for me, and then from there we will make a decision, and hopefully offer you that position. And as I say, we've got a good number of positions available with us at the minute. We're hiring quite a lot at the minute. So we've got around about 5 positions, but we're not going to stop there. The travel piece, there is a little bit of travel involved in recruitment. You know, you're not always a recruitment consultant, you know, forever. You can move into different avenues. You can move into account management, for example, where, you know, instead of speaking to the candidates, you're actually speaking a lot to the clients, and you're going out, you know, you're going out to see them, doing, you know, performance reviews with them. You're taking them out for dinner. You're taking them to events. Like we've got an event booked. Well, hopefully it's still going to go ahead. But where Wimbledon, you know, we take clients to sporting events like that to entertain. So there's an element of that as well. There is the opportunity as well to travel globally within the recruitment industry in general, but certainly with us, you know, we're looking to work a lot more closely with Recruit Group to offer people that opportunity to go and do stints in different countries. I personally have had multiple opportunities. I've lived in America doing recruitment. I've lived all over Europe doing recruitment as well. Finally settling in good old Stockport. But overall, it's you know, an excellent industry to work in. It's hard work, but exceptionally rewarding. Thank you very much for listening. Open to questions.
Oh, great. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, and obviously, if anyone's got any questions, please just put them in the chat now or raise your hand to have a chat. But I think it's just really interesting, isn't it, to see all the sort of, you've got 2 perspectives there, haven't you? The recruitment that you do yourself, but then as in to work for you, but then also the opportunities that you can create for students. And I think also the other thing to mention there is that temp work. So if we've got students here that are maybe at the start of their university journey and are looking for temp work, then, you know, that software that you said that's really easy to just sort of drop into and potentially get some work experience while you're here at university before you progress onto your graduate roles. I think that's really important to bear in mind as well.